Most people are aware that with document generation, you can output PDF files using a Word document as a template. I want to make sure that you guys are aware that it's also possible to do this with an Excel spreadsheet. But what's really interesting is you can actually put in tables of data into that spreadsheet as well. So in this scenario here, we have two variables. They're both collection variables. Collection of names, collection of countries. These two actions here are just simply populating those two collection variables, so we're not going to go into those. We open up the document generation action, and before you dive into actually picking your template and adding it and modifying it, we're going to come up here and we're going to click on table data. This allows us to create a table. Now I've already created one here, so I'll show you how I've done it. I've given it a name called user data table, and the first column is going to be my collection of names, and it's a string. Second column, collection of countries, also a string. That's it, keeping it pretty simple. So just remember the name, user data table. You can call it whatever you want though. Now jumping into the tag document, this will actually open up Excel on the desktop. And what you'll see is the first thing that I see is I have to actually put it into edit mode. So that'll pop up in a moment. But then I'll also see on the right of Excel something called the Nintex document tagger. And you'll see that loading over here. So if I expand this section here, this user data table that I created, I've got three things in there. I've got my two collections for the columns, but I also have the start tag, and that's really important. So as you want to fill in these fields, I'm going to go up here to A1, and you'll notice up here, now normally if I click on say D1, it'll say D1. If I click on E1, it'll say E1. What we've done is we've come over here, clicked on the first one, and then you go over to the bottom right here, select your collection variable. When you click on it, it will copy it to the clipboard, and all you do is you go up here, remove A1, and insert your little token there. You do the same thing for B1, right? We've done that with collection of countries, and we've inserted that there. Now, in order for us to tell the software to actually generate rows, what you then do is you select those columns. So select these two fields there, and then you click on the option here, which is the start option, and then you paste that into there as well. So what you're essentially doing is kind of like renaming these particular cells, and in this case, this group of cells. Now, if you had 3, 4, 5 different columns, you would select all of them like that, and then you would change that to the appropriate start tag. All right, so let's have a look at what happens once you do that. So we're going to close that. We're actually outputting to a document library called docsetDestination, and we're giving a name called output.xsxlsx. So we go over here. I'm going to manually kick off this workflow. There we go. And what will happen is it'll start the workflow and it will generate that spreadsheet based on the template that we saved. So remember, you update the template, you save it to the original document library, and then the workflow will then use that template and create instances of that specific Excel spreadsheet. So let's have a look at how this is going. So this is still started. I'll just go in there, still started, do a quick refresh. All right, it'll probably take a minute or so. So let's have a look at some of the other options that you could do. Now, I mentioned that you can use collection variables and basically build up a table. Of course, the formatting you can do any way you like, but you can also insert individual variables as well. So let's jump back into the Excel spreadsheet. Now, actually, before I do that, let's actually go over here to variables. We'll create a new variable and we'll call it text age. And yeah, we'll just keep it as a text field. Now, when I go into my tag document option and opens up Excel, I can actually insert that value into a specific cell. Now, that's going to be really interesting if you have other cells in your spreadsheet that do calculations or have formulas on them. So I could actually come over here for F1, go over on the right here, click on variables, and I can click on that, and that will actually insert that into there. Oops. And just paste it in there, and that will insert that particular value. All right, let's close that. Excuse me. And we'll refresh the workflow status. So it looks like the document's been created. We'll refresh our document library. There's my output.xlsx. And there's my collection of John and Frank and US and UK. So that's how easy it is to populate a spreadsheet with the data coming from a bunch of different columns. The only thing I would say is try to make sure that your collections are all the same size. That really helps to align everything correctly, especially if you have formulas that do calculations.